On October the 7th, 2023, Hamas terrorists invaded Israel, slaughtering more than 1,200 Israelis and taking 240 civilians hostages. Many of those who were slaughtered were tortured beforehand. The torturing and killing was filmed and uploaded to social media. Women were gang raped, mutilated and beheaded. Babies were burned alive. Hamas have promised to inflict this barbarity again and again until Israel is annihilated.
And if you look at it here, also there are several people in it. You can see parts of skull here, and 2 parts of skull and 2 parts of bone. Again, it's like a crematorium. And go another one, I don't remember. And this is Dr. Nachman case, and that's what you see here. Dr. Nachman, can you explain?
Yeah, we can see here 3 left foot, and here 2 right foot. And other parts, that mean it's at least 3 people there. So they were together. This is the same.
But this is all what remains of them. I mean, that's the remains. I mean, it's not the body is gone. It came from a closed room, and that's what they excavated from the room. So this is everything that remained from these bodies. Okay. Another one that remind me. How do we know that they were burned alive? Because when we open, for example, Dr. Nachman has several cases like this. When you open the trachea, you see that there is soot in the trachea. So it means they were breathing while there was a fire. It means that they were not shot to death, and the body was burned. They were alive when they were burned.
These are values that are alien to the Western mind because they are alien to the Western Christian tradition. And yet, in a poll, it was found that 46% of British Muslims support Hamas. In addition, 2/3 of young British Muslims do not believe that Israel has a right to exist. In Islam, what is sacred is not the greater humanity, but the Ummah. The difference in attitudes is reflected in different theologies. The Gospel of Matthew is commonly regarded as the Gospel to the Jews and is arguably the most socially conservative of the Gospels. In the Gospel's story of the Last Judgment, it reads,
"When the Son of Man comes in his glory, and all the angels with him, then he will sit on his glorious throne. Before him will be gathered all the nations, and he will separate people one from another, as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. And he will place the sheep on his right, but the goats on the left. Then the king will say to those on his right, 'Come, you who are blessed by my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you welcomed me. I was naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came to me.' Then the righteous will answer him, saying, 'Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you drink? And when did we see you a stranger and welcome you, or naked and clothe you? And when did we see you sick or in prison and visit you?' And the king will answer them, 'Truly, I say to you, as you did it to one of the least of these, my brothers, you did it to me.' Then he will say to those on his left, 'Depart from me, you cursed, into the eternal fire, prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungry, and you gave me no food. I was thirsty, and you gave me no drink. I was a stranger, and you did not welcome me. Naked, and you did not clothe me. Sick and in prison, and you did not visit me.' Then they also will answer, saying, 'Lord, when did we see you hungry or thirsty, or a stranger, or naked or sick or in prison, and did not minister to you?' Then he will answer them, saying, Truly, I say to you, as you did not do it to one of the least of these, you did not do it to me. And these will go away into eternal punishment, but the righteous into eternal life.
The equivalent passage in the Sahih Muslim Hadith 6668, Book 37, is a little different. It reads,
Abu Burda reported Allah's messenger, may peace be upon him, as saying, there would come people amongst the Muslims on the day of resurrection with as heavy sins as a mountain, and Allah would forgive them, and he would place in their stead the Jews and the Christians.
The Hamas Charter contains a commitment to eliminate the State of Israel.
Israel will be established and will stay established until Islam nullifies it, as it nullified what was before it.
It also references the Last Judgment.
The day of judgment will not come about until Muslims fight the Jews, killing the Jews. When the Jew will hide behind stones and trees, the stones and trees will say, O Muslims, O Abdullah, there's a Jew behind me. Come and kill him. Only the Garkut tree, evidently a certain kind of tree, would not do that, because it is one of the trees of the Jews.
The Charter also states,
our struggle against the Jews is very great and very serious. It needs all sincere efforts. It is a step that inevitably should be followed by other steps. The movement is but one squadron that should be supported by more and more squadrons from this vast Arab and Islamic world until the enemy is vanquished and Allah's victory is realized.
In Wales, the Ummah are certainly doing their bit. On the Children's Commission of Wales website, there is a page titled Tackling Islamophobia Resource, where it states, in this video, young Muslims in Wales discuss what Islam means to them. For many, it is summed up in one word: peace. In most places, Islam is defined not as peace, but as submission. The Children's Commission of Wales is Rocio Cifuentes. Rocio Cifuentes was formerly Chief Executive of the Ethnic Minority and Youth Support Team. In 2018, Rocio Cifuentes spoke at an EYST meeting in Swansea with Nizar Dahan, who was described as a humanitarian activist. Rocio Cifuentes was with Dahan again in 2021 at a rally in Swansea, listening to the chants of Khyber Khyber Ya Yahud, the viciously racist call to murderous hatred of Jews. It is unlikely that Rocio Cifuentes really believes that Islam means peace. Rocio Cifuentes is a member of Race Alliance Wales. Rocio Cifuentes' profile picture on X is her in front of the We Are Wales logo. Shazia Ali is from Swansea. Shazia Ali worked with the Ethnic Minority and Youth Support Team to produce the We Are Wales website. That included a video of her interviewing Nizar Dahan. In her article for Race Council Cymru, Ali writes,
in Islam, the value of human life is beyond words. The Quran says, if you kill one innocent life, it is as though you have killed the whole of humanity. And if you save one innocent life, it is as though you have saved the whole of humanity. This is but one of thousands of articles of the Islamic faith that show its nature, a nature of peace, unity, and mercy.
In an interview, ex-Muslim Nuriyah Khan explained the different teachings within the Quran.
They're just counting on the Muslim audience to believe what they say, and I was reading about this yesterday and I'm thinking, why are there so many Muslims out there who just don't read the Quran like I did and understand the fact that let me just trust my eyes and like realize that that's wrong. But interestingly, because the Quran it's organized in a way that's kind of not chronological and not in order of the revelations that Muhammad got. The Quran is put together from like, except for the first verse, which is, you know, a kind of medium-sized verse, it goes from the longest verses to the shortest. And so a lot of Muslims, not talking about the Islamic apologists that I debate, but a lot of like, you know, your Muslim friends around will say like, there's no compulsion in religion, or, you know, if you kill one person, it's akin to killing all of humankind. And they take all these nice bits out of the Quran. But what they don't understand is that there's a doctrine of abrogation in Islam, which means that all those fluffy, nice verses have been overridden by the violent verses, because those were the verses that were revealed when Muhammad was in Mecca, when he barely had anyone on his side, and it was in his interest to be nice and peace-loving and rainbow and unicorns. When he did the migration to Medina, the Hijrah, it goes, kill all the disbelievers, you know, make them pay the jizya and be humbled. They're the worst of creatures. It all changes. So, I mean, bless them, because maybe it's ignorance or whatever. But if you just understand that doctrine in Islam and you understand the way that the Quran was revealed, cherry picking one or two peaceful verses doesn't make it any better, because that's all overridden. And Islamic scholars know that. And that's why I find it extremely disturbing when I do debate Islamic scholars and they use those verses and they're just saying it over and over again to the public as if that's it. But no, it's not, because they're holding so much back.
What Hamas did had a profound impact on many.
After shooting a teenage girl, Jewish, in her home in the gut, he shot her in the gut, and she's writhing on the floor, bleeding out. And then the parents, and he's like, no. He made the son, the mum, and the dad sit next to it. He started on their Facebook Live, started filming the girl as she's bleeding from her gut. He shot her in the gut with an AK-47. And then the son is screaming to his parents, and the dad and the mum's destroyed, but the dad's trying to stay strong for his son, like, son, we're going to get through this, and is watching his daughter bleed out by Hamas. And they then all got killed on Facebook Live. They just got shot in the face. Another one I saw was Hamas filming on their GoPros. They got into another house in the kibbutz, and there was one of the boys was like 8, his brother was like 10. One of them was missing an arm from getting blown off by a grenade from Hamas, and he was there, the 10-year-old boy, holding his brother's arm. And the little boy, he was trying to tell his brother that it wasn't real. Like, don't worry, this is a dream, it's not real. And there's a fucking Hamas guy filming those little kids. And then these people, sorry, forgive me, these fucking people, they try and downplay that like it's a small thing. I watched with my own eyes that mother, Shiri Bibas. She knew what was going to happen to her little, one of them was 18 months old, the other one was 3 years old, little ginger kids. And the two Hamas guys, balaclavas, guns, they're like parading the babies, and the mother's watching, and she knows what's going to happen to them. And like, this isn't shit from like the medieval period. This is people doing it on Facebook Live, like real. And then for people to have the audacity to go out supporting that every week on British streets, for the government to tolerate it, for the police to facilitate their protest, for my Jewish friends to not even feel safe to go to any UK city because you've got young, a lot of them, we don't know, are they terrorists or not? Migrants off the boat, young Arabs, Tunisians, Algerians, Syrians, people that come from war-torn regions. They're there wearing the balaclava. There's one little, he comes out every week, and he's an Arab guy, dresses like Hamas. He wears a mock suicide vest, a fucking mock suicide vest, straps, wires coming out. I told the police this, and this is just, they don't care. This is how much we've been Islamized in this country.
That's outrageous.
It's outrageous. I told the police, I said, he's wearing a suicide vest. Like, go speak to him. The police went to speak to him. What are you wearing, son? Oh, it's for me to carry my mobile phone. Look, that's flap. And so that's fair enough then, mate. Carry on. And this is only because we've had
the non-stop anti-Jew propaganda from lefties, commies, Islamists. They just hate the Jews. It's in the Quran. Fuck the Jews. They hate the Jews. They've got an issue with the Jews.
For Shazia Ali, the Muhammad of Medina came to the fore as she liked a tweet that said,
"You can't expect a beaten and caged lion to purr when he finally breaks free."
Cardiff University lecturer and the chair of Applied BME, Abyd Quinn Aziz, described the condemnation of the Hamas atrocities by Keir Starmer and Rishi Sunak as disgraceful. The chair of Applied Black and Minority Ethnic Support Group tweeted, "At least we will die with our heads held high." Abyd Quinn Aziz is a member of Race Alliance Wales. The Hamas fighters took the hostages they captured to underground tunnels. Described as the Gaza Metro, the tunnels are said to run for more than 500 kilometres. This is an entirely new form of warfare. Outgunned by Israel, Hamas are waging a propaganda war, giving as much publicity as they possibly can to the death of Gazan civilians. Israel are attempting to eliminate Hamas and retrieve the hostages. Typically, the Israeli Air Force bombed the area above suspected tunnels to flatten any structures. Then bulldozers are used to uncover the tunnel shafts and locate any booby traps or improvised explosive devices. Finally, ground troops go in to destroy or to seal off the tunnels and shafts. These actions are resulting in many casualties among the Gaza population, which in turn is leading to international condemnation. Dr. Abdul-Azim Ahmed is Deputy Director of the Centre for the Study of Islam in the UK at Cardiff University. Dr. Ahmed is also Secretary General for the Muslim Council of Wales. Dr. Ahmed has a keen interest in the Muslim Brotherhood. The Muslim Brotherhood is a transnational Sunni Islamist organisation founded in Egypt by Islamic scholar, imam and schoolteacher Hassan al-Banna in 1928. The movement's self-stated aim is the establishment of a state ruled by Sharia law under a caliphate. Its slogan is "Islam is the solution." Al-Banna accepted the utility of political violence. Ahmed has tweeted,
"Has anyone written on the coffee shop as a place of civil society organizing? I'm thinking of Muslim Brotherhood and its early history in Egypt specifically. This covers some of it, referencing the Arab Spring. This upcoming work on Muslim Brotherhood looks great, based on insider ethnographic research."
The influence of the Muslim Brotherhood reached its peak in Egypt with the election of Mohammed Morsi in 2012. He was deposed in 2013 in a coup d'etat. The Muslim Brotherhood is now banned in Egypt. It is not banned in Britain. Hamas is an offshoot of the Muslim Brotherhood. In a video, the highly influential head of the Muslim Brotherhood in Kuwait speaks admiringly of Hamas and explains that the tunnels were dug with help from Egyptian President Mohammed Morsi.
We look today at the situation in the Muslim world and the situation in Gaza. And I was just last week with Brother Ismail Haniya. So I got the details of what's going on. Istanbul, alhamdulillah, now in our hands. Rome one day will be in our hands. And every house and every tent will have a Muslim in it. And Palestine will be free. No question about it. We started, by the way, يعني, October 7th is a very clear start. يعني. They cannot crush Hamas. They have no hope of crushing Hamas. I tell you, brothers and sisters, with all of this bombing, Hamas lost less than 20% of its power. And that brings us to the last question. Why is the Arab world moving towards normalizing relations with Israel? First of all, I want to correct that. Not all of the Arab world is moving in that direction. Those who are moving in that direction all banned me from entering their countries. All of them. I am banned from 11 Arab countries. Because we speak harshly against normalization. This is being traitors. Normalizing relations with Israel is making you traitors to Islam and to the Ummah. You follow what is going on in Palestine. And you follow these tunnels that the Palestinians have. And you know, if you are following the news, that there are hundreds of kilometers. How did they dig that? Did you think? How were they able to dig these tunnels? They happened in 1 year when Mohammed Morsi was ruling. He gave them the equipment to do that.
Abdul-Azim Ahmed is a member of Race Alliance Wales. In a podcast, Plaid Cymru activist, regional director of Muslim Engagement and Development, and former Assistant Secretary General to the Muslim Council of Wales, Sahar al-Faifi, explains why the normalisation of relations with Israel is a terrible thing. Nuriyah Khan explains.
I realized it's not just a religion, and that's obviously I'm sure you've heard many people say this now, but it is literally an expansionist political ideology. So when we have all these problems that we're talking about in society that relate to Islam, why is that? It's not just, we don't have these problems with the Hindu community per se. We don't have it with the Sikh community per se. With none of these other religions are posing the same problems. They're not trying to kind of infiltrate in a way where they're pushing their agendas and they're trying to censor our speech with like stupid laws like the Islamophobia law, for example, the Islamophobia bill, sorry. Islam is always encroaching. And it's because within the scriptures itself, it's never just okay existing as is. From Muhammad's time onwards, there was always an agenda from his time onwards to turn the whole world into, well, as you said earlier, submission, to submit to Allah. No other God, just Allah. Until that day happens, it is every single Muslim man's duty, and women in their own ways, but Muslim men's duty to do something to work towards that. So most Muslim men who, are living a normal life, not enacting this, having a drink, going to the casino, doing whatever, cultural Muslims I like to call them, they're okay. But the large portion of them that are the terrorists are just enacting what Muhammad's final call is to keep going, keep spreading. And obviously that was jihad, which is like, using the military and using force and using sexual violence, all those horrible things normally to expand Islam, which we saw it colonize a lot of the world as well. Got to the frontier of Europe, made its way into some of Europe before the pushback. But now what we're seeing in Britain is even more nefarious because it's not fought like that anymore. Now the agenda to infiltrate and the jihad has now turned to, if you look at organizations like the Muslim Brotherhood, if you look at money like spiraling into this country from Qatar, if you look at the Saudi Wahhabism that has been exported to our mosques, and it's just all around the country, infiltrated into the university campuses, into institutions. You've got an organization like MEND, actually, which I'm going to do a video on because they are very scary in terms of what they've been doing in the UK, and it's kind of gone unchecked how much progress they've made. But MEN stands for Muslim Engagement and Development. It's what they call themselves. They're a grassroots civic kind of body that promote, Muslim relations within the community. They encourage Muslims to take up positions in local councils, in public positions. They monitor everything that gets put out in the media in case it happens to be Islamophobic, in case it's painting Muslims in a bad light. They are the ones who go around to various schools and set up Islamophobic awareness programs. So they discourage conversations on the grooming rape gangs, because they deem that to be Islamophobic. They are pushing an agenda to make Prevent change its mission and from focusing so much on Islam to more far-right conspiracies. So now you see actual trainings that you're given in workplaces. When you do a Prevent training, it's gone to not even 50-50. It's 60-40 about the far-right versus Islam. Whereas who are the biggest threat to the UK, as you mentioned, or who are on the extremist watch lists? It's not really far-right activists or thugs, as they like to say. It's Islamic terrorists. So this organization, MEND, is extremely anti-Semitic, and they've got very extremist Islamic sympathizers who lead their top positions. They go into universities, they go into your kids' schools, and they're pushing these agendas, which literally they've glorified terrorism in the past.
In the Hamas Charter, it states,
"The day that enemies usurp part of Muslim land, jihad becomes the individual duty of every Muslim. In face of the Jews' usurpation of Palestine, it is compulsory that the banner of jihad be raised. To do this requires the diffusion of Islamic consciousness among the masses, both on the regional, Arab, and Islamic levels. It is necessary to instill the spirit of jihad in the heart of the nation so that they would confront the enemies and join the ranks of the fighters. It is necessary to instill in the minds of the Muslim generations that the Palestinian problem is a religious problem and should be dealt with on this basis. Palestine contains Islamic holy sites. In it, there is Al-Aqsa Mosque, which is bound to the great mosque in Mecca in an inseparable bond as long as heaven and earth speak of Israel."
Jerusalem is mentioned many times in the Bible. It is not mentioned at all in the Quran. However, Muslim forces conquered Jerusalem, and in the late 7th century, the Umayyad Caliph ordered the construction of the Dome of the Rock and the Al-Aqsa Mosque on the exact same site as the Jerusalem Temple. What is mentioned in the Quran is a story about how Muhammad rode by night to Al-Aqsa from Al-Haram. Tradition tells us that he rode on the back of a winged donkey, Burak. There's no mosque in Jerusalem at the time, and the temple was destroyed, but Muslim scholars tell the Ummah that Al-Aqsa is Jerusalem. You don't have to be a cynic to understand that the association of Al-Aqsa with Jerusalem is a political decision. In 2016, MEND hosted an annual dinner organised by Sahar al-Faifi. In attendance were Abyd, Quinn, Aziz and Abdul-Azim Ahmed. The guest speaker was Sheikh Zahir Mahmood. In his speeches, Mahmood explains to the Ummah that the people of Gaza are the best people on the earth. In February 2025, the remains of the Bemas brothers were returned to Israel as part of a ceasefire deal. Gazans turned out to celebrate.
They came out to line the streets to watch those coffins go by.
Mahmoud explains that it is every Muslim's duty to assist. He tells the Ummah to keep watching videos of people with their limbs being blown off. He also explains why Al-Aqsa should be sacred to the Ummah. Similarly, Mufti Muhammad ibn Adam al-Kawthari, a previous guest speaker at the Centre for the Study of Islam in the UK, explains why the Muslims are the true spiritual heirs to the temple complex, and commitment to the Al-Aqsa is a key part of every Muslim's belief. Palestinian children are given the exact same message.
ولو احنا مشينا بشرائع الدين وتمسكنا بالدين وكنا أمة واحدة وصلينا الفجر في المسجد واتبعنا الشرائع الدينية أكيد حتتحرر فلسطين صح ولا لا؟
بالتأكيد يعني أول حاجة يجب علينا إيش نلتزم بطاعة الله عز وجل والصلاة في المسجد ونلجأ إلى الله عز وجل وعلنا بتاعه صح ولا لا؟ صحيح. وأيضا الجهاد في سبيل الله. الجهاد هو ايش يا فكور؟ هو سلام الاسلام. طيب واحنا لازم نعرف حبايبنا الاطفال ايضا انه اليهود المجرمين قاعدين بيخططوا وبيعملوا انفاق من تحت ايش المسجد الاقصى المبارك عشان ايش يسووا؟ نسيت ايش بدهم يعملوا الهي بدهم يحطوا بدل قبه الصخره الهي ايش اسمه؟ هيكل المزعوم. انت الحفريات هذه اللي تحت المسجد الاقصى هيجي يوم ما راح يضل شيء تحت المسجد الاقصى والمسجد الاقصى. طب هم ايش بدهم يسووا عشان الاطفال بدهم يعرفوا ايش هم مخططهم الكيان السجين ايش بده يسوي؟ بدهم يحطوا يعني زي ما بيسموا او هيكل سليمان المزعوم كما قلتم يعني. طبعا هذا الشغله ناكد غير صحيح او ما له وجود اصلا يعني وما راح ينحط كمان طول ما احنا موجودين وفلسطين موجوده والاقصى موجودين راح نضل نرابط الى اخر قطره دماء فينا يا فكر. شيء جميل ورائع بإذن الله إن شاء الله إنه يعني إحنا نحافظ عليه بدنا بصدورنا إن شاء رب العالمين إن شاء الله. وما ننساش أيضا عشان المسجد الأقصى وعشان ندافع من المسجد الأقصى إلنا سنوات نقاتل شهداء ضحوا من أجل المسجد الأقصى ومن أجل فلسطين صح ولا لا؟ صحيح. وأيضا شهداء وأيضا جرحى صح ولا لا؟ جرحى وأسرى كمان وأيضا.
Student societies have backed Abyd to deprescribe Hamas. Amongst the organisations are Qaeda Students for Palestine. They signed a letter backing Riverway Law, the firm acting for Hamas. Nizar Dahan from Swansea, celebrated by Shazia Ali in We Are Wales, hosted a live stream with Riverway director Fahad Ansari. Dahan called the viewers to give a little to the Palestinian cause, naming money and freedom as two things that could be sacrificed. He told his 19,000 followers, those who are standing their ground are going to be rewarded according to that level of courage. The Muslim Council of Wales follow a number of accounts of politically active people or groups, including Councillor Imran Latif, who was found guilty of locking himself to a person to cause significant disturbance after protests following the arrest of Nizar Dahan in Cardiff. Councillor Latif accuses Israel of committing genocide.
Let us be clear, this is not a conflict, it is a genocide. Israel is ethnically cleansing Gaza, West Bank, and the silence of our media houses and of our politicians on the face of the genocide is not neutrality, it is a complicity.
It would be nice if Councillor Latif gave some advice on what he thinks Israel should do to stop those who follow the religion of peace from beheading and torturing, maiming, incinerating children and babies, gang raping women and starving its citizens. But he neglects to do that. Natasha Hausdorff explains why the accusation of genocide levelled at Israel is a big lie.
So in terms of the definition of this term, this is the only bit I'm going to read out to you, and it's from Article 2, essentially, of the Genocide Convention. So the 1948 Convention on the Punishment and Prevention of the Crime of Genocide defines the concept of this crime. And it does so critically by focusing the key aspect of this crime is intention. The intention to destroy a group in whole or in part, and this is a national, ethnic, racial or religious group. That is the characterizing element of this crime, the intention to destroy a group in whole or in part. And then there are a number of acts that are listed according to this definition, which include killing or causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group, deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part, imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group, and forcibly transferring children of the group to another group. That's the legal definition of genocide. Now, where did the term come from? The 1948 Genocide Convention is important. Its timing is important because this was a response to the Holocaust. The term genocide was coined by Raphael Lemkin, a Jewish jurist, to provide some form of terminology to the Jewish experience of being targeted for extermination because they were Jews by the Nazis in the course of World War II. Critical that we recognize that this is also about accusing the victims of the very crimes, of perpetrating the very crimes that were committed against them. And in that respect, I don't just mean the Jewish victims of the Holocaust, but I also mean the victims of those acts of genocide on the 7th of October. Because what I do not think can be beyond doubt, given that it was so carefully documented by the Hamas terrorists themselves, is the acts that were carried out that fall within the list I read out to you on the 7th of October, the killing, the slaughter, but of course also the rape and the torture, and the targeting of Jews, Israelis in those communities in the south of Israel at the Nova Festival because of who they were, because they are part of that group, that ethnic, racial, religious, national group. And the intention with which these acts were committed is also clear. It is something that Hamas leadership, and indeed those terrorists who have subsequently been interrogated and provided interviews to the Israeli security services, their intention they have made no secret of. For anyone that has watched the now 48-minute video compilation that the Israeli Defense Forces have compiled of material from the 7th of October from Hamas GoPros, from dashcam footage, there is also a recording, which has been much spoken of a terrorist who phones his parents on the telephone of a victim of someone that he has killed and tells them how proud they should be of him, how many Jews he has slaughtered. The intention is beyond doubt here and was never, as I say, even sought to be hidden. And it's an interesting phenomenon that we see of the victims of these crimes being accused of perpetrating the very crimes that were committed against them. It's important that we recognize the impact of these abuses of international law and abuses of international legal terminology. In fact, Israel has a positive obligation under the convention to punish and prevent the crime of genocide. All of its conduct in Gaza, in pursuing its war aims of destroying Hamas as a political and military force and rescuing the hostages, returning the hostages, that is in compliance with its obligations under the Genocide Convention.
The Muslim Council of Wales also follow Haytham al-Haddad. Al-Haddad is extremely popular in Islamic circles. In a Blood Brothers podcast, he explained how the lawyer for Riverway Law in the press conference to publicise their case to deprescribe Hamas explained that Israel was on its way out. Al-Haddad was a visiting speaker at the Al-Mana Mosque in Cardiff in 2014, the same mosque attended by two young men, Nasser Boutana and Nuriyah Khan, who a year earlier had left Cardiff to join ISIS. Al-Haddad has some controversial views.
A Muslim, do you think a Muslim just will eat haram food for nothing? He will eat haram food because he wants to avoid a bigger haram. So if some people would like to say, we are voting for a kafir system, don't say we are voting for a kafir system. Don't ask a scholar that is it allowed to vote for a kafir system? He will say, of course, it's not allowed. But tell him, Am I allowed to vote for a kafir system in order to avoid a bigger kafir system taking power? In this country, it is impossible for us, and it is not even viable for us to carry weapons in order to change the system. So we want to do that, and we will not do that, and we won't be able to do that. Now tell me, how can you achieve any change in this country? So da'wah, okay. Even when we say da'wah, like you do da'wah, and then what? You do what? We will not have an Islamic state immediately. You do da'wah in this country. Okay, many people will become Muslim. Majority will become Muslim. Then they will say, shall we allow our MPs to be non-Muslims and the majority are Muslims? So they will have their own Muslim MPs. So you have participated in a democratic system. You are going to have a prime minister who is a Muslim. How can a prime minister become a Muslim? Except through the democratic system, because still the Islamic State has not yet been established. So whether you like it or you don't like it, the political participation or the political process, is the scene to influence a change. I know it is filthy, okay? I know all the kuffar will go to hellfire. I know all the kuffar hate Muslims. I know all of these statements that many brothers are saying, but in many cases you have to deal with it, okay?
The Al-Mana Mosque social media account posted a video celebrating the Hamas actions. Dr. Qanta Ahmed is a Muslim doctor. She explains her concerns about the radicalization of Muslims and what she saw after October the 7th.
So September 11th was a real inflection point. I watched one tower collapse and I watched the second plane go through. And it was so extraordinarily devastating. I had friends and family in New York City. I was speaking to other expatriates from New Zealand, South Africa, America. Everybody was very distraught. And I spoke to some Saudis and noticed that they were not distraught. Some of the nurses asked me to come and talk to them late one evening. So we went into an empty room and they wanted to tell me what had happened on 9/11, which was that there had been some Saudi female physicians who had ordered cakes in celebration of the towers collapsing. I was surrounded by multiply board-certified physicians and highly educated people, and I could see that there was almost a satisfaction that this had happened. That made me wonder, what has come out from amongst us as Muslims? And that began my odyssey, which continues even today. But I must say, thankfully, Saudi Arabia is not the same country it was back then. After seeing 9/11, I came back to New York. Ground Zero was still on fire. You could smell it. And I made a decision to write a book called In the Land of Invisible Women about being a Muslim woman in Saudi Arabia. And I became sort of an amateur political scientist. And I realized very early on that the number one recipient of Islamist jihadist terror has been Israel. So I began reading about Israel's experience with Hamas. And finally, I thought, look, I've been reading and writing, I better go and visit. It's just an astonishing place. I went in and I saw patients, and on the door of every patient's room was a mezuzah, and inside was a Israeli Muslim nurse and an Israeli Jewish doctor, or vice versa. I remember one moment, I was in an elevator, and there was like probably all of the great religions were in the one elevator. So I saw the most amazing diversity. And the amount of times I've been to Israel, I've pretty much seen all aspects you can over the years. And it's a place that I recommend everybody should go and visit. Some of the most amazing discoveries I made is when I said, please, can I see inside the Hamas infrastructure? Can I go inside a newly discovered tunnel? And what was amazing to me was the level of construction, ventilation, electricity. And I thought, I am inside the belly of the ideology that first became apparent to me as I was in Saudi Arabia watching my TV. When Hamas attacked Israel on October 7th, within 48 hours or perhaps even sooner, people were denying that it was happening. So I think it was the intense denial and the intense minimization of this event that made me feel compelled to say, I'm going to go and see, and I'm going to go not because I'm Muslim and not because I condemn radical Islam, but because I'm a human being. And precisely because I'm not Israeli and because I'm not Jewish, it's important to go and acknowledge that. So I felt it was a big responsibility. When I arrived, I realized the whole plane was full of people going to enlist from New York. And next to me was a very religious Jewish woman and her newborn. And I remember all through the flight thinking about this woman and her newborn and thinking about what had happened and what I was about to behold. I personally examined the bodies of the dead with forensics. They showed no mercy. They spared nobody, not woman, not child, not pregnant mother. I saw bodies that were multiply violated, meaning people have been executed in many ways. Their bodies have been desecrated after their murder. I saw remains that were absolutely unintelligible without high-resolution CT scans. I talked to morgue workers that were carrying body bags, trying not to have the charcoal in their hands crumble. This is who is being supported if they are not being rejected. You are either with Hamas or you are not with Hamas. There's no middle ground here. They do the same indiscriminate killing of their own civilians in pursuit of their genocidal hatred for Israel. The Muslim world doesn't understand what it is empowering. There have been protests in Hamburg, Germany, where Islamists in Germany have been agitating and demonstrating for a Sharia state inside Germany. And that is extremely dangerous for Muslims. It's extremely dangerous for anybody that lives in those societies. For me, the United States has always been a beacon, this place of hope and light and possibility and opportunity. And I can confirm that America has been everything and more. It took me almost 25 years to become an American. It was worth every minute. To connect the dots further, in New York, it's my privilege to look after for decades people that survived 9/11, people that went to clean up Ground Zero that now still have illnesses. So I have a panoptical view of what this ideology has done, and Israel has faced almost every aspect of it. It's impossible to allow Hamas to exist. If we leave even a remnant, it is going to return with greater ferocity. We've now exposed the sympathies for Islamist ideology, and perhaps the best antidote is to return to our fundamental values in the United States. This is a place that safeguards freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom of religion for all people in America. And it's about time we got back to that.
Race Council Cymru is an organisation with a stated aim to work together to promote race equality, justice and integration in Wales. They have nothing to say about the Hamas atrocities, but they do have plenty to say about George Floyd. They write, despite the challenges, we remain hopeful. Hope lives in our communities. It lives in the young people rewriting the narrative. It lives in the educators committed to inclusive teaching. It lives in every organisation that signs the Zero Racism Wales Pledge. And it lives in you. There are certainly plenty of people who are rewriting the narrative.
Nobody raped anyone. Stop this nonsense. Decolonization is always a violent phenomenon.
Race Council Chief Executive Uzo Iwobi has shared a platform at a Stand Up to Racism rally with Kwabena Devonish.
This fight is not just a fight for Palestinians, it's a fight against imperialism, it's a fight against Western intervention. Our UK government has its own intentions when it comes to Israel. All the billionaires in the Conservative Party have ties to Israel, in the tech companies, in the arms companies. They have their own interest in this war, and that is to make money. But we stand here today because we stand for humanity, we stand for justice, and we stand for the people of Palestine. I will never condemn the resistance of Palestinians. I am sick of being told to condemn Hamas when Hamas are fighting for freedom. Hamas are fighting for the people.
Race Council Cymru Chief Executive Officer Uzo Iwobi has shared a platform at a Stand Up to Racism rally with Hussein Saeed.
Because Israel do not represent Judaism. What they represent is ideological Zionism. And Zionism is a death cult. That's what they represent. So when they try to make it about Islam versus Christianity versus Judaism, ask them, why did they murder those Israeli civilians? Ask them, why did they blow up one of the oldest churches in humanity's existence?
Race Council Cymru Chief Executive Officer Uzo Iwobi has shared a platform at a Stand Up to Racism rally with Nizar Dahan and Nelly Adam. Not a squeak of public criticism comes from Uzo Iwobi. Hamas are very pleased.
اليوم الناس في فرنسا في أوروبا وفي أمريكا شو اللي بخليهم يسلموا عشان ما نقزمش الموضوع ونقول غزة انهدم فيها 20 بيت ولا 100 ولا 1000. تداعيات المعركة أكبر بكثير من مساحة غزة، أكبر بكثير من مساحة الإقليم. تداعياتها أكبر من الزمان والمكان، تتجاوز. مين كان بيحلم أنه الشباب الطلبة في أمريكا في جامعات التي تخرج السياسيين يخرجون ضد قيادتهم ضد الاحتلال الصهيوني ويقولون أن فلسطين يجب أن تتحرر من البحر للنهر وليس في 67 كما يقول معظم زعماء العرب.
هم ضد المشروع الصهيوني بالكامل يعني.
بالكامل. هذا حلم أن يحدث. اليوم المسلمين اللي أعدادهم تتضاعف أضعاف كثيرة بسبب ما يجري في غزة.
As Plaid Cymru state, Wales, it's us.
The Muslim Brotherhood, as we know today, it's all about achieving their goals to sabotage Western civilization from within. And unfortunately, I'm sorry to say, they are succeeding. They found several documents. One of them, it's called the Explanatory Memorandum of the Muslim Brotherhood Strategy in North America. And it details the strategy of the Muslim Brotherhood to infiltrate ideologically and democratically through non-violent means North American society to sabotage it from within. They even use this phrase through launching what they call civilizational jihad, manipulating the political system, manipulating democracy. And they said very clearly that the key tool they are going to use to do that is the Palestinian cause, to bring the Muslim communities together and to get support from other communities to make people sympathize with their causes. And one other thing was mentioned in this document as well, Islamophobia. And it was based on another document that's called the Project. And the project is much broader. It's about the strategy of the Muslim Brotherhood in the West in general. So yes, all of what we're seeing today is not new. It's not a reaction to a humanitarian situation in Gaza. It's not random protesting in sympathy with people in war. No, it's very well planned, and they knew that this is their moment to target the Jewish communities. Because also, if you look at their protests, it's not about supporting the Palestinian people. It's not about giving them a Palestinian state or giving them a better future. No, it's all about Jew hatred, going after American Jewish students. How this is going to serve Palestine or the Palestinian cause. It's all about achieving their goal, and unfortunately, I'm sorry to say, they are succeeding.
Abyd reported Allah's messenger, may peace be upon him, as saying, "There would come people amongst the Muslims on the day of resurrection with as heavy sins as a mountain, and Allah would forgive them, and he would place in their stead the Jews and the Christians.